Gary, many thanks. A fascinating range of thoughts there on what's happened. And we're going to go live to Washington, D.C. now. We're going to talk to Professor Capri Cafaro of the American University, but very importantly to a former Democratic leader of the Ohio State Senate. Professor Cafaro, thank you very much for joining us. Why don't you underline for us, what do you think is the significance of the result there in Alabama?
I think that this is a very unique case due to the fact that Roy Moore was such a contentious candidate, because of the controversies not only surrounding the allegations of sexual misconduct with underage girls, but also because of some of his really extreme views on the LGBT community, on Muslims serving in Congress, on the Jewish community and the like. So, while Alabama has not voted for a Democrat in 25 years, I think that it is largely due to the fact that Roy Moore was just such a controversial candidate, and I think in combination with the fact that there were Republicans that sat at home and did not vote, and the African-American community in Alabama showed up to the polls.
How much do you think, Capri, how much you think can be realistically read across to the impact on President Trump and his political authority?
In these days with, 24-hour news cycles, which are really 2-minute news cycles, it's hard to say whether or not this is going to have a lasting impact on President Trump and his political capital. But I think suffice to say that the Democratic Party is going to take advantage of this and trying to build on the momentum of the fact that, the Democrats were able to pull out a victory. Now, remember that this is the unexpired term of now Attorney General Jeff Sessions. And so it really is only a few years instead of a 6-year term. I believe it's 3 years that they have left. So, more likely than not, a Republican will pick this seat back up in a few years. But in the meantime, I think that the Democrats are really going to try to build upon this momentum for 2018 as a number of United States Senate seats are on the ballot coming up in the midterm elections.
Within the Republican ranks in Congress, what is the view there about the way that President Trump handled this contest and the way that he basically went about, siding in certain directions?
I think that Republicans, frankly, are relieved in many ways that they don't have to deal with the situation of Roy Moore amongst their ranks. And as I think that the correspondent mentioned, the fact that there would have been potentially a lot of ethics investigations and questions about whether or not he would have been actually seated, and then the Democrats would have used him as a lightning rod. But as far as President Trump is concerned, I think that it's a mixed bag, and it depends on whether or not members are talking publicly or privately. There's a huge divide, I think, amongst the GOP in the Senate and across the country as far as whether or not it was a good idea for President Trump to try to back Roy Moore just to save a seat for the Republicans and preserve the momentum of the Republican policy agenda. But I think there are many in silence that, behind closed doors that are frankly, having a sigh of relief.
Professor Cafaro, very interesting to talk to you, and thanks for joining us today.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Professor Capri Cafaro there of the American University in Washington, giving us her analysis of that electoral race there, which has just ended in that unexpected result in Alabama. The time is 25 minutes past 5. Some of the other stories making the news today.